All right, peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, happy Friday. Yes, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about the big announcement coming out of the White House as they have announced that they have canceled $5 billion, with the B, folks, $5 billion in student debt for 74,000 borrowers. We're going to be checking in with one of our contributors, Kimberly Morrow, who's a principal and educator, to talk about the impact of this next chapter of that big conversation. Also, let's talk about what's happening out of Texas, how a new Uvalde report details a botched response in the killing of all of those children in the school. We'll break down the details, and it kind of goes along with the bigger question we had last week, was does America hate its children? We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, later on, are we losing our sense of manners? I'm going to share with you the latest around that discussion about decorum and manners. And Snoop Dogg has officially said he declined $100 million from OnlyFans because he got a black wife who would not approve. Did he do the right thing? Folks, stay with us. The conversations continue on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We are kicking it off today. Got a lot of great discussions for you. First and foremost, happy Friday. There we go. I'm going to say this now so that way I don't forget later. Go Baltimore Ravens. For all you Texans out there, Roland Martin, Brother Roland, I see you. I see you, sir. We will see how that go with the AFC divisional game, so I'm looking forward to that game. But everything else, folks, I want you to be a part of the conversation as we got some dynamic discussions to have today, and I would love to hear what you have to say about all of them. So make sure you join us as we're streaming on a number of fantastic platforms. First and foremost, on our home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all of your devices. Follow us on social media under Black Star Network. And we ask that you just give a little something, put it in a bucket, financial donation that will help us to propel and take us to the next level as we're looking to blaze the trail for Black content on social media. So you could do your part, be an investor and stakeholder. Just go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, we're streaming on Amazon platforms. Check us out on Amazon News, on your Fire TV, on Amazon Prime Video. You can make sure you do your due diligence and check us out on Prime Video. You can go to the Prime Video app under Live TV, the news, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV and News. We're also on the Freevee network, where you can find us there on now under News, and we're on Plex TV, streaming live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network or find us in the Live TV, the News and Opinion on Plex TV. Big shout out to the online culture crew that's gathering in the chat. We got crew members on the X platform. There we go. We got crew members on the X platform, on Roland Martin's Facebook page, and on Roland Martin's YouTube channel. So make sure you join us in the conversation. I see y'all, Deidre Hall. I see you. The ABX girl. Hey, ABX girl. Good to connect with you once again. Pastor Damon Blissett, my brother. Thank you for checking in. L. Lee checking in all the way from my hometown of Baltimore. That's what I'm talking about, L. Lee. Thank you so much for checking in. Brian Christian, it is good to see you. Thank you, sir, for checking in. Cindy D, I got you. Troy Williams, peace to the God and goddesses. Peace to you, brother Troy. Thank you for checking in. Educate to Free Us. What up, Culture Crew? What up, Educate to Free Us? Love to hear from you once again. I appreciated what you did to the conversation yesterday. Level up spiritually. Loved it. Cancel debt for who this time? Well, we're going to talk about that level up spiritually, but I appreciate you for checking in. Real Brooklyn, I knew I had to see you, Real Brooklyn. You my guy on these type of conversations, so I'm glad to see you, brother. Arlene Starks, I got you. Stephanie Humphrey Channel, you back again, and I can't wait to hear what you got to say, so good afternoon. We got Georgia Peaches checked in. We got the, who else we got? Cindy D. I see Anastasia Paget. I see Tiz. Woo! Y'all checking in. Y'all checking in. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let me bring in my contributor, one of our great new contributors here on The Culture. She is a principal. She's an educator. She's a speaker. She's been doing a lot of work in a lot of different spaces, and I'm so happy that we have a chance to hear from her each and every Friday here on The Culture. My sister, Kimberly Morrow. Kimberly,
hello.
Good afternoon. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling wonderful. It's Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Kimberly. Happy Friday. Hey, look, I want. Look at.
Founders Day this week.
Wait a minute. What happened to the music? Wait a minute. What happened to the music? First thing we were jamming. There we go. It's Founders Day. Come on, Kimberly. Come on. Come on. There we go. All right. There we. People are like, what kind of show is this? Supposed to be news. When you're talking about the culture, you got talking black folks, we be talking, we be reporting the news like this, so this happened the other day, y'all. Happy Founders Day, AKA is in the building. Is that what we got with Kimberly? Did she freeze up on us? Come on, Kimberly, you gotta, come on, Kimberly. You gotta get off. Oh, okay,
there we
all right.
go. Okay.
They're about to say you got to get off that government Wi-Fi. You got to get off the Biden Wi-Fi. I'm not gonna say any other jokes, y'all. Not gonna say more jokes. Oh man, I was gonna say a joke. It would have been a perfect joke, but I didn't want to. I was gonna say the Biden Wi-Fi slows you down.
Hey, it does. It does.
Oh. Anyway, look.
They try to help, though, but
They're trying to help. They're trying to help. Hey, look, I know we got to take a quick pause, but first I want to introduce this topic. The White House has officially announced that they have canceled another set of debt for 74,000 borrowers, $5 billion in debt. Now, Kimberly, this is huge. Because as we know that this plan of canceling debt has been thwarted by the Supreme Court when it was first introduced. So the president had to go back to the lab and figure out other ways to fulfill his big campaign promise that he was going to relax student debts for a number of borrowers. $5 billion, 74,000 borrowers. And we want to take this quick pause. But before we do that, I want to get your take on that. Do you feel like the president is making an effort, his administration is actually making an effort to make people's lives a little bit better and financially get us into a much better position with the attempts to cancel student loan debt?
100% I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm a beneficiary.
Okay. So you are a beneficiary of this. We're going to talk about this. Because y'all don't know, but Kimberly's story and the amount of debt she owed. And the sad part about it is, Kimberly, that you are an educator. You're actually working on behalf of the system to get students educated, empowered. So we got to talk about this, folks. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation. Let's talk about this. $5 billion in student loan debt has been canceled for 74,000 borrowers. We're going to talk to Kimberly Morrow. I want to hear from you. What's your take as we have this first discussion here on the show? Stay with us. We got a lot to cover in this first half of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage has a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation as we talk a little bit about the big news coming out of the White House as they have announced that they have canceled $5 billion in student loan debt for 74,000 borrowers. Now, President Biden said today that 44,000 of those approved borrowers were having their education debt wiped clean after 10 years of public service, and that those borrowers included teachers, nurses, and firefighters. Now, almost 30,000 borrowers have worked toward repayment for at least 20 years, but never got the relief they earned through income-driven repayment plans, according to a statement from the president. It's the latest round of loan forgiveness efforts from after that major Supreme Court decision that struck down the White House attempts to cancel student loan debt just last year. And as a result of that, the White House has launched a series of smaller debt relief programs to fulfill his campaign promise. Let me go to my sister, Kimberly Morrow, who is an educator. She's also a principal, and she was once a person who had major student loan debt. Now, Kimberly, your story, when you told me, I damn near dropped the phone. I'm glad I didn't. But that was a lot of money. Talk to us. Now, you're saying that this is fantastic. I think the big thing for me is that it's for those who worked in public service. So we can't, I know there isn't enough time to talk about the importance of the roles of firefighters and teachers and nurses. So those who work in public service should have their debt relief, especially when they give their hard-earned time, their skills, and their efforts back to the system to make the system better, to make people's lives better. So I think it's only right to cancel that. But what was your journey in this whole process of student loan debt?
Okay, so when I decided to go to college, I didn't fall in the category where I didn't have parents who could write a check for me to go, and we weren't below the poverty level. I come from a regular working class family, 2 parents, waitress, truck driver. So I didn't qualify for assistance. So I had to do what I had to do. I had to take out student loans. And what happens when you take out those student loans, after a while, when you start having children, you're having a family, you want to buy a house, there are times when you cannot make your payments. So it's a thing called forbearance. And I've gone into forbearance on a number of occasions. And when you go into forbearance, unless you're paying the interest, it's compounding. And so a lot of that debt ended up getting so high, it got increased. It was getting higher and higher because I would have to go into forbearance. I could not afford to pay mortgage and bills and childcare and pay this student loan debt. And the thing about that income, and then the thing about the 10-year public service, I was put under that umbrella. But here's the thing, it's not as though you work 10 years in public service and your debt is forgiven. It's within that 10 years, you have to make a certain number of payments, 120 payments. So if you're in that program and things in life happen and you have to postpone your payments, which I had to do a number of times, then it takes longer than 10 years is what I'm trying to say.
Basically. Right.
It takes time. So I fell into that category of, I think I had been in the income-driven repayment plan for probably 15 years or more. But because things would happen, I'd have to go into, put it in forbearance. And when that happens, then you're not starting from scratch, but the payments aren't being counted. And those payments are high, Faraji.
They are very high.
They are high.
Yeah. I mean, I was able to pay off my student loan debt, but they are very high. And one thing that I push back on about this, Kimberly, is that when you go through a process of trying to get your credit straight, whether it's through bankruptcy or through some other credit assistance, that student loan debt is not a part of that. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, it's such a major burden on so many different people that it's not forgiven. Even after, you graduate from college, you have family. I mean, you go through all of these life-altering changes, and this stuff carries along with you, right? And the sad part about it is, and this is my take, I've always had this take, all you're trying to do is get educated. Yes. All you're trying to do is contribute back to society, and you're saddled, and it feels like a punishment more than an incentive to go to college. How did you explain that to the students that you work with, Kimberly? When they say, Ms. Morrow, I got to take out all this money just to go to college, or my family doesn't have the car, you can't pay for this stuff. Like, how do you explain this amount of debt, the system that we have with student loans, and try to make it something that students, young people will want to even engage in? How does that conversation go?
I try to, as much as I can, I try to get them to apply for scholarships because that is free money. Yeah. I try to get them to apply for grants because that is free money, and every little bit helps. But if they end up having to take out student loans, which suck, I tell them that sometimes you have to weigh the good with the bad. So I don't advise them to take out student loans. I advise my daughter not to take out student loans, but sometimes we have to do what we have to do. And do I regret taking out those student loans? Absolutely not, because I was able to enjoy the career that I had. I love working with kids. And I realized, I knew that it would take me years to pay that debt off. But I'm thankful that the Biden-Harris administration forgave that debt.
All right, so here's the bigger question that I wanted to ask you on camera. How much was your student loans? How much debt did you have before they were forgiven and canceled?
Around about the year, it was over $350,000. It was over $350,000. And can I just say this?
Yes, ma'am.
For those of you who believe in vision boarding, let me just say this. I put on my vision board back in 2011 that I wanted my student debt paid. I wrote a check for the amount that I owed at that particular time. And I'm just saying, it took 13 years, but 13 years later, that debt is paid off. That's my little plug for vision board.
I'm glad you got such a great energy and spirit about it. I mean, just a simple fact, like, folks, y'all know that Kimberly is a certified principal. She's an educator. Like, she's helping to groom the next generation, and she was carrying over $350,000 in student loan debt.
And Faraji, when you said, and that is debt that you cannot put in a bankruptcy. So right. I think it was back in around 2000, 2001, I did have to file for bankruptcy. And I was told the student loan debt cannot go in there. And here's something else about that student loan debt. I realized, so my mother has student loan debt, and she had gotten sick. She was unable to work. She was forced into retirement. And those student loan people were relentless. And they finally called after she passed away. And I said, I'm sorry, she's passed away. And they said, well, can we have her death certificate? And I said, you can get it. It's public information. So student loan companies are relentless. They do not let up on you.
That is crazy. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let me bring my other sister, Corinna Denise, who is a college admissions advisor. She's one of our Great Culture crew members. Let's talk about this with her as well. $350,000 our sister Kimberly Morrow had to get taken care of. It is finally paid off. But there's a high cost of going to school in this country. And I see so many of you crew members who are in the chat just putting out y'all numbers. If you feel comfortable in sharing how much debt you had, by all means, let us know, because I think the rest of Black America and the rest of the country should know that we are saddled with debt. And just the simple fact that you have companies out there who are so relentless, as Kimberly said, to get the money instead of thinking about the quality of life of people, the health concerns of people. Capitalism has a long way to go before it's humanity in my eyes, folks. That's all I'm going to say. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation on the other side with Kimberly, Corinna, and with you. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. We are talking about the Biden administration have announced today that they have canceled $5 billion in student loan debt for about a little bit over 74,000 borrowers. And we're having a conversation talking about the implications of this. I've been checking in with my sister, one of our great new contributors, Kimberly Morrow, who is a principal educator, sharing just a little bit of her personal story around this issue, as she was saddled with $350,000 plus student loan debt. Now, it has been repaid. It took 13 years, but she's here to tell the story of it. And Kimberly, I want to bring you into the frame because it makes us think twice about this whole process of student loans, the cost of education, and so much more. Before we bring in our next voice, Corinna Denise, do you think that this is even worth it? I mean, I'm saying this in terms of going to school, going through this whole process, right? And I'm gonna always probably have this view. All we simply want to do is become educated. There should not be a consequence. Maybe this is my idealistic thinking, but you should not have to feel like you're being punished from being educated, especially when you're doing the work of contributing back to society. And I don't want to miss this point, that a lot of the student loan debts that were canceled, the president said that this was for teachers, those who have been doing public service work. So you're talking about teachers, firefighters, nurses, those who have been putting their time, who have dedicated their lives for the empowerment, for the cultivation of people, and you got to be saddled with debt for 10 years, 13, 20 years. You can't buy a home sometimes. You can't sometimes buy a car. You can't get an apartment. You can't open up a new line of credit. But we're supposed to be excited about going to college, be excited about getting our grad degrees. I'm in grad school now, and it's like, so do you think this is worth it?
So I think two things can be true at the same time.
Okay.
I absolutely do not like the student loan debt, and there's a part of me that would like to sit here and say it's not worth it, but that is just not, I can't say that. I believe that every dime that I accrued, as exorbitant as it was, I would not trade it for Raji. I just would not trade it.
No, I get that, because that's the education, right? That's the knowledge.
I loved my experience. I love the knowledge that I have. I love the fact that I have something that can't be taken away from me.
Right.
I don't think you can really put a price on it. I mean, they did, obviously, over $350,000. That was the price.
That was the price.
That was the price.
And but see, here's the thing. Here's the price. Imagine that's being your price tag to get the education, but then you only get a fraction of that in terms of your salary. As you know, it's for teachers and for educators, right? So you could I'm gonna say it, you could overcharge me for the education, right? Which is, and people act like, oh, in America, you have to charge that way. You can go to literally other countries. Like, crew members, some of you may have traveled. I'm sure many of you may have traveled, across the globe. And you can go to other countries, and you could probably either get the same quality of education or better education for less.
Yeah. That is true, and I think that's why it is so important. There are things that we have to understand about this capitalist, this American system that we live in. It is designed for a certain number to succeed, a few to succeed, and the fact that many of us broke through and it succeeded regardless of what the limitations were. That is saying something. I wasn't supposed to go to college and least of all go to Harvard. Not the neighborhood that I came from, with a parent who was a waitress and a father who was a truck driver. I was supposed to graduate high school, get a job, or go to the military. That was what my mother had told me. You know, when you graduate high school, you get a job, you go to the military. One of the two. I chose a different route.
You did. And you went to Harvard University as a result of that. You went to Harvard.
Yeah, that ended up coming out. Yeah. So I just think that we know that the system just is not designed for us. We have to think smart. That's why, again, I try to discourage students from taking out student loans, especially if they are taking out student loans for going over what they need it for. That's what I want to say. So sometimes maybe you need 10,000, but maybe you're going to take out a little bit more, which I'm pretty sure they need it. But try to minimize the debt that you're going to take. Try to take the time out and apply for scholarships. There are just so many ways around it. And unfortunately, I did not know that.
Absolutely. Sean Ryan.
There were just a lot of things I did not know.
Yeah.
And as a result, I feel like as a result, that's how I ended up with a lot of that debt, because there were just things I didn't know.
Hey, very quickly, Kimberly, and I want to bring Corinna in, but very quickly, those who were in your class, were they saddled with that amount of debt as well?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
You wouldn't tell. Okay. I'm just wondering. Here's
And
what
I'm
one
gonna
of
be honest with you, Taraji, they wouldn't know the amount of debt I was saddled with, because it's almost you're ashamed.
Oh yeah, I can understand it. I look, people, and we could talk about that in a moment, because I can totally understand that. Sean Ryan, Culture Crew member. Sean, you said something. Sean, I'm gonna have to put it out there. You put it on the chat, so just know that y'all put something in the chat, I might just pick it up. But Sean, you said people should have thought about that huge debt when they took out the loan.
Okay, that's a fair question, but let me just say this, because I actually have thought about that over the years. When you are 21, 22, 23, you don't think like that. You could not tell me at 21, 22, 23, when I took out my first student loan, that it would have turned out the way it turned out. I would not have believed you. As a matter of fact, when I first took out the student loan, I didn't think I was going to be a teacher at that particular time. I was going to college. I thought I was going to come out making a whole lot of money. So a lot of times, and I hear that all the time. Well, you should have thought of that beforehand, but I'm sorry. At 21, 22, 23, most people that age don't think like that. And if you don't have somebody who's telling you something else, you don't know what you don't know. That's the bottom line. And my parents did not go to college. As a matter of fact, I helped my mother go through college after I had been in college. So it wasn't as though she were telling me, oh, don't do this, do it this way. You don't know what you don't know. So sorry, a lot of 20, 21, 22.
And I think that's the problem. I think that's a huge point. But I also think, you went to Harvard. Harvard is not cheap. This is not cheap stuff we're talking about here. This is a premier Ivy League school.
I was still in my early 20s, Faraji.
Huh?
I was still in my early 20s. It's not again, and there are things that you know as you get older.
Oh, yes. Okay. Absolutely.
So in my 30s or 40s, I probably would have had the wherewithal to go, okay, you know what? No. But I'm in my 20s still. So
and see, guess what? I'm not going to.
There are just things that we're not looking 20 years ahead. We're
no. And I think there's some other things in play, because culturally we advocate for Black youth, Black students to go to the best institutions. Culturally, we advocate for Black students to put themselves out there, right? We don't tell you're Black. And I'm saying this with no shade, because I came from the same space. I started my college career at a local community college in Baltimore City. So we don't offer that. If a student has the ability, have the grades, they have all of the requirements, they meet the metrics of a successful student in high school during their high school years, you're going to say, well, I think you should think about an Ivy League school. I think you should think about an MIT. I think you should think. You're going to have them reaching for the stars. Nobody's going to be like, oh, you get all good grades, you got a 4.0, you did great on your SATs. I think you should go to your local community college.
Exactly.
That's not happening. Those conversations aren't happening.
Exactly.
So I think we got to be a little bit. We have to be a little bit lenient with one another, because to your point, in your 20s, you're thinking one thing, especially if you are coming from a family where you're possibly the first college graduate. You're not having those conversations. We're not sitting down, and this is a conversation: financial literacy, understanding the loan process, understanding how money works once you get to college. How many of us had those conversations with our parents? Let's keep it real. How many of us really did? Like, I didn't. I had to go to somebody on a college campus. I had to explain somebody. Corinna, let's bring Corinna in very quickly before we take our next pause. Corinna, I didn't have no Corinna Denise. I didn't have Corinna. I had to find a financial aid office and figure. You have to figure it out very quickly before we take our first break. I wanted to bring you in. What do you say today, Corinna, as a college admission advisor, that, people should be making some better, quote unquote, better decisions during a very, very integral part of their educational journey. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think it's first of all, happy Friday, y'all. Hey, y'all.
Happy
Bear with
Friday.
me. I'm getting over a cold, so I sound raspy. I was kind of pushing back a little bit because I'm like, hold on now, Faraji. Those conversations have happened consistently, at least in my classroom and my office space, because
you're there.
Yeah, it's all about the college fit, and sometimes we have to have those hard conversations about, okay, I know this is your dream school, but another school that's just as great, just will fit your needs just as well, is offering a better financial aid package. Your need is 100% met. You don't have to take out loans. So sometimes we have to have those difficult conversations, right, for affordability. But to your point, everyone's not privy to those things. So, that's another reason why Scholarship Plug was developed, trying to create that awareness of other opportunities that students, parents, and their families are not aware of, to try and lessen the burden of having to take out student loans, and then sometimes students are offered loans. Maybe you're offered a $5,000 loan, but you only need $2,000, but students irresponsibly accept the full loan. So it's those little intricate details, kind of lessen the debt that they're getting into.
But part of that, though, too, Corinna, is simply because students are, if you're coming, and I'm not, please, I hope that no one kind of misinterprets what I'm about to say. But if you are a first-time college student coming out of your family, right? And you're coming from a working class, you might come in from a working middle class background and whatnot, right? The point of kind of navigating through this process, talking about the ins and outs of this, all of this stuff about student loan debt, this is 2024. We're finally at this place. But if you look at how the process was, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago, please, it was like, you go to school, get some money from the government, and good luck on and try to pay this stuff off.
Yeah. There's just not enough information about
right.
Free emphasis on free grants, scholarships, and programs, right? And specifically to which schools, right? We have over 5,000 colleges in this entire country. Which schools actually offer 100% of a student's need? So it's trying to create that awareness so that students are aware, so they don't fall into this hole of having to take out all of this enormous amount of debt. But you're right, automatically, if you don't know, and it doesn't always have to do with first generation either, the college landscape is consistently changing, even as an advisor, year to year, things change. You have to keep up with what's going on with the latest. But, I'm glad to hear this student debt relief is happening with the Biden administration. Shout out to them, that the president went around despite the Supreme Court striking this down. And this is very important. This is a promise met, and people need to pay attention to this. And I just want to shout out one more person. I think Ebony K. Williams at the GRIO eloquently laid this out the other day, why we should be paying attention and that we must give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let me go to some more comments from you, crew, about this situation as we talk about President Biden announcing that his administration has canceled the debt for 74,000 borrowers. You're talking about $5 billion in student loan debt that has been canceled. A lot of those student loans have been canceled for those who have been working in public service for 10 years or more, teachers, nurses, firefighters, civil servants. And so the president has touted that achievement. And I want to get your take on that. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
There's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We are continuing our conversation about the announcement coming from the White House that President Biden and his administration has canceled student loan debt for 74,000 borrowers that equal $5 billion in debt. Now, this is the latest effort for the president to keep his campaign promise of relieving the debt of so many borrowers. With this latest debt relief, this brings the total number of people who have had debt canceled under the Biden administration to 3.7 million citizens in this country. 3.7 million citizens in this country. I'm going to bring my sisters back. We are to be talking to Kimberly Morrow, who is a principal and educator, and she was a student loan debt borrower. She had over $350,000 worth of debt that has officially been relieved. And it took some time, but she got it done. And it's been 13 years. So she's talking to us about that experience. And then we got my sister, Corinna Denise, who joins us on Fridays as well, who is a college admissions advisor. She's also a political strategist. But more importantly, she helps students to learn how to navigate through this loan process as she talks about these things with students from our generation, from the next generation. Now, I want to post. I think I saw Lana. Lana, you posted this. This is Lana, one of our great culture crew members. She said, "My mother has a MS in education. She was an excellent teacher, but she couldn't tell me anything about finance for college, being first generation herself. We must demand Black financial education." Kimberly and Corinne, talk to me first on that. And I mean, this is a different financial system, right? And to Lana's point, if you have a mother, her mother worked in education, benefited from going to college, worked in and all of these things, she's bringing all these, great skills to the table. But when it comes to finance and when understanding the loan process and all of that, she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. So I think that's also a part of that. How do we change the culture on that, though, Corinna? How do we have those conversations? Because again, like I said, everybody can't come to you. Now, if they could, you'd be you'll be great. But everybody can't come to you. So how can we have little Corinnas in our families? How can we educate ourselves to that way when the young people in our family come to us, we can at least give them some guidance on how to start the process?
Well, one thing I first want to, bring awareness to, I think a major disconnect as to why that's lacking, our guidance counselors are not able to do guidance counseling in that manner, right? Especially for a lot of our students who want to continue on to post-secondary education. They're inundated with other things, testing, they're being moved around. So they don't get to have those conversations, even though you might be in a district that says, oh, hey, we're all about college and career readiness, but they're not pouring in the resources to those counselors and those teachers to have, these after school presentations or like parent nights or whatever the case may be, to actually educate the community on resources, right? Or where to go. So I think that is a major disconnect. And then sometimes you do have students who, they know their situation and they're kind of more inquisitive and they kind of seek out the information, but we can't take for granted that everyone's not doing that. So to your point, Faraji, how do we create awareness? I think that's just with what we're doing here on this platform, right? With different nonprofit organizations trying to create that awareness to say, hey, there are resources as you're trying to navigate this college process where you don't have to just think that you're going to have to be inundated with debt just to pursue your education. There are other avenues. There are other opportunities. There's so much free money alone that goes unclaimed simply because students and parents do not know about it. And I could tell you, like, even just some of the scholarships, you could write maybe just one good essay.
Right.
And recycle it. Because it's so similar. You've done the legwork. Really just recycle it. You might have to change out a name and you're getting maybe $1,000 in your hand, right? A lot of these organizations are giving this money directly to the students, right? And then of course you want to be responsible and use it accordingly. But think about the impact that has on a child, right? A boost of confidence that, wow, you believe in me, that you're going to give me this money and trust that I'm going to use it to pursue my educational endeavors. But yeah, it's just about trying to create awareness. I think we have to start having the positive conversations around college again. When I walk into classrooms, sometimes you're not always, it's kind of like a low show of hands when you ask who's going to college, right? Because the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, the cost, the cost, the cost. And we're not talking about some of the positives. To Kimberly's point, she said, regardless of the debt, and I'm so happy to hear that you got that debt relief, sis. Regardless of the debt, she wouldn't change it for the world, right? We're quick. We'll go and take out that loan and buy a brand new car, something that depreciates in value. We're not thinking at that point in time like, oh, it's going to cost me so much money. So I think we need to change the questions, right? Well, how can college be more affordable as opposed to I can't necessarily afford this? And I hope at least with the student debt relief, this is a first step. This will definitely relieve a lot of parents, right, who have been carrying the burden of debt, who are trying to get their children now into college, trying to figure out, man, I already got my student loans. How are my kids are even going to get, whatever finances or whatever they need to cover their stuff? That kind of relieves some things. So again, it's just about creative awareness. And the last thing I want to say, it does not matter whether you're first generation or not. I was first generation, and as a college counselor for over 15 years, I can tell you I've worked with students and family parents, whether they're first gen or not, Faraji. There's a lot of not knowing. So the basis isn't necessarily because you didn't go to college or not. It's just about creating the awareness. A lot of my passion comes from, man, if only I knew this when I was your age and I was in school. And that's why I'm pushing you to do this now. That's where a lot
I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I think that is the responsible thing to do. I think, and to your point, Kimberly, we talked a little bit about this, but if someone had given you the insight or sat down, and this is not a shade on your parents, right? Because you can only teach what you know.
That's right.
Correct.
So this is not a shade on them at all. Your parents did an excellent job because they got you into Harvard. They raised a dynamic woman. So it's not them but it is a cultural thing that we don't value that part of our educational experience enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know, Corinna, if there are classes that parents can take, if they're into for their children who are going into college, matriculating to college, what classes, or if they're local classes, if they're classes provided by state governments. I mean, to really help in that process, right? Because if you're having those conversations, you're probably having conversations with college graduates. If your parent is a college graduate, then that value is passed on down to you. But if your parent isn't a college graduate, they've been working, all they know is, I want you to go to college. Then you're still kind of left on your own. I want to throw this out there, and then I want to get your take on this, Kimberly. Arlene Starks. Arlene, thank you for being a part of the chat, and welcome back. Arlene broke it down. She said that, let me just make sure I'm looking at the numbers. She said $5 billion for 74,000 people comes out to approximately $67,564.56 per person. So roughly about close to $68,000 per person. So we're looking at that. And when you think about the college experience, that really isn't a lot. In some colleges, that's like 1 year. But it means a lot because you're talking about 74,000 borrowers who have an opportunity to change their financial path. You're talking about 74,000 people who have a chance to say, you know what, I can get a little bit further along in life because I'm not saddled by this debt. I don't know if y'all remember, there was a story that came out back in October of last year where Morehouse students had $10 million of student loan debt that was wiped by the debt collective. It was 2,700 former Morehouse University students had their debt totaling $10 million. It was wiped clean on October 23rd. This is the second time that Morehouse has done this. The first time was back in 2019 when Black billionaire Robert F. Smith promised during his commencement speech to pay off the student loan debt of that year's graduating class, which totaled $34 million at that time in 2019. My question to you, Kimberly, is should we advocate for more HBCUs to take on that burden of wiping student loan debt clean for Black students?
And you want me to answer that now or after the break?
No, we can answer that right now. I know we got to take.
You know what? That would be amazing, but coming from an HBCU that I know would not have been able to afford it, I wouldn't say across the board. Because my HBCU I know would not have been able to afford it.
Yeah.
So it's great if the larger ones are able to do it, if those with huge endowments are able to do it. But there are a lot of small HBCUs that literally are hanging on by a thread that I know they would not be able to assume that sort of debt. I just know it. So in theory, it's a great idea, Faraji. In practice, I can't see all of the HBCUs being able to pull it off. Yeah. But, it's hopeful that you have more billionaires, more millionaires who are able to see the big picture and spread the wealth instead of only focusing on about 4 or 5 HBCUs that typically get large donations.
Right.
There are a number of HBCUs that are doing excellent things with students, and they deserve those donations just as much as the bigger ones that we are familiar with readily.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, my take on this as we wrap this up, President Biden and his administration is doing what they can. I know some of our crew members are saying, well, this is not what he promised. Talk to the Supreme Court.
Well, you know what? Like,
talk to the Supreme Court. I mean,
hold on, Faraji. She did say, tell me you don't know about politics and civics without telling me you don't know about politics and civics. See, because we don't understand it and we just see the president at the forefront. Well, give credit where credit is due, because when the Supreme Court struck this down, he could have just threw his hands up. But there's pressure and people advocating for us on the other side.
That's true.
This administration decided, okay, you don't want to do it this way, I'm going to go around you and find out what other way I can get it happening. So credit where credit is due.
And it's Black folks that advocated for that.
That's right.
It was Black activists that continued to push the president, the vice president, this administration to still do something. Say, hey, be creative, get resourceful. Do not stop the fight. And again, even though it's not the full broad program that the president was originally thinking, and he's more scattershot, the fact is something is being done. And Benny Hill, I saw what you posted. Like you said, this is the take that Black folks have. Something is better than nothing. In the case like this, something better than nothing. Kim, we got 30 seconds. What's up?
Real quick. I'm just glad that schools are doing things a lot differently now. Back when I was coming up, counselors talked to certain students about college. Not all of the students got the information. Nowadays, counselors are talking to more students. And in traditional schools, we are not only promoting the four-year colleges, but I've heard counselors actively tell students to attend community college for the simple fact of not incurring so much debt. Knock out your general eds at community college and transfer. So there are a lot of things that are going on that are different than when I came out 35 years ago. So kudos to everybody who's now directing students on a different path and thinking about the parents' pocketbooks and not just about, just go straight to college. So things are different.
Absolutely. Things are definitely changing. Folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talk about this new Department of Justice report coming out of the state of Texas, where they finally had some definitive recommendations and some definitive thoughts around how police handled the Uvalde massacre that happened there. And we'll share with you the latest of this report. And it kind of goes along with our last conversation of Does America Hate Its Children? We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to PO Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Let's talk about what's happening in the state of Texas. More importantly, the city and the community of Uvalde, Texas, where back on May 24th, 2022, a major massacre, a great tragedy took place at Robb Elementary School. If y'all remember, Robb Elementary School was the site where a gunman walked into the school and killed 19 children and 2 staff members as a result of a mass shooting. And this federal investigation was now called to as a result of that, because they have found that 380 personnel of law enforcement officials being on the scene, from local, state, and even federal law enforcement agents being on the scene, that this was a botched response to such a tragic killing. I want to share with you what most of this report covered. Taking a look at this, let's put up quote 1, please, Liz. Most of this shows that police who responded to the deadly Uvalde, Texas elementary school shooting waited far too long to confront the gunman. They acted with no urgency in establishing a command post and communicated inaccurate information to grieving families. Now, according to a Justice Department report that was released on Thursday, let's go back to that previous quote, please. Thank you. According to the Justice Department report released on Thursday, that identifies cascading failures in law enforcement's handling of the massacre. I want to bring in Corinna Denise, who is a college admissions advisor, and she is a political strategist. But Corinna, you wanted to talk about this. And I think it's necessary for us to talk about this because this was such a tragedy. It could happen any time, anywhere in this country. But what stuck out the most for you from this report?
I mean, first I just want to say, when this happened back in 2022, if you didn't feel anything inside, then you must be dead inside, because these are innocent children, 2 teachers just trying to, end off the school year in a positive way. They were getting awards and a bunch of accolades. And I think what the DOJ presented yesterday, Faraji, was what we already knew. But to have them pretty much seal this and say this was a botched response, and pardon my French, an utter fucking failure. Like, I just have to say it.
Yeah.
It speaks to, and it just took me back to last week's conversation when the question was being raised, does America hate its children. And I think Kimberly raised an even better question: has America ever loved its children? And the more and more we've been unpacking this, what really rattled me yesterday when I was watching the news conference live about the DOJ's findings, I feel like, hell no. America has never loved its children. They hate their children. We can see the lack of response. Every type of officer that you could imagine was on the scene. Those babies were alive. They were calling for help. And a lot of them, we can only imagine, I just pray. And I can't even imagine the parents, if their child suffered or they just instantly went, just the jarring descriptions of, a child, their face being gone, having to identify a little girl with her favorite sneakers that she liked to wear. You know what I'm saying? Like with the medical examiner, the horror that he said he had to see every time, a body was being brought into the room. Putting injured children on a school bus. They're not even getting the care, and not even in the ambulance, where, other children died because the police, like the cars were just blocking, the barriers around the school, and they couldn't get out. The ambulance couldn't get out. So I say all that to say there has been no response, no real response to rectifying this. And I don't know if some of the audience maybe remembers, earlier in 2023, ABC did a whole documentary on Uvalde, like a year later. And something that I found to be very interesting was how, there was no mention of Hot Wheels. And I'm talking about Governor Greg Abbott. Still decided to have the NRA convention that same week. You know what I'm saying? And I really hope these parents continue to organize. I see that Miss Kimberly Rubio, her daughter Lexi, who was killed, she did run for mayor late last year, but unfortunately she lost the race. But I just want to, encourage her. I don't know if she watches this platform. I hope you run again. And I hope you and the rest of the parents continue to organize, because at this point in time, we need to become the damn legislators, because it's a waste of time to be pleading to these people who have no morality, who have no heart. They have ice boxes. So we need to move the people who are in our way and put in the folks who will regulate gun laws accordingly, so that these children can feel safe and go to school. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when the Department of Justice had to basically, I think it was like a 600-page report, Faraj.
Yeah.
Describing in detail how this was an utter failure. But yet you're promoting the guns. What were you so afraid of? And, and I hate to take it there, but I'm going to just take it there. If the description of the shooter was, I don't know, black male, brown male even, would you have hesitated to have gone in? You have on all the equipment. What the hell was the problem? More lives have been saved.
And let me tell you something. This would be a different conversation. Actually, there would be no conversation at all. And I'm with, as you share that sentiment, Big Brother Willie, you posted this, and good to connect with you, Brother Willie Frazier. You said the parents, teachers, children, city, county, state, country, world knows they failed. We know most of the police show their bravery when the person is unarmed and either black or brown. We see that. I want to bring my sister Kimberly Morrow back into this discussion. Kimberly, as an educator, one who works in the school systems, and y'all have to go through this process. Like, unfortunately, we're living in a time where mass shootings often happen on school grounds. So you have these active shooter drills. You have to go through that process. What went through your mind at that moment back in May of 2022 to see this tragedy? And how have schools and your school and maybe other schools, do you see like there is a culture of change in addressing this issue of active shooters, access to guns, and children's safety? Do you see anything getting better?
So let me say this. I'm actually not in the traditional school setting currently. I work with homeschoolers.
Right.
When I was in the traditional school setting, and that's just been 3 years ago, we did active shooter trainings. And so when I saw this unfold, I'm thinking, what in the world? When we did our active shooter trainings, when the police officers led them, they were Johnny on the spot. They were on it. And it just made me think, wow, what would have happened? What would happen in a real active shooter training? Would they be so ready to rush in the way they were during our drills? And we have our drills, we've been on top of them because of all of the mass shootings that had occurred previously. And so we were very thoughtful with doing these active shooter drills, making sure that students were prepared. As far as have things changed since Uvalde, sometimes I'm in the public school settings, and I don't see any type of new urgency that is going on. I think they're still doing their active shooter drills, and they're still training the kids what to do if there's an active shooter on campus. But I have to say this, and Corinna, I agree with you about this being a disgrace, but this is what I will say. What galls me is that one of the answers to these mass shootings on school campuses has been to arm the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And response, well, the teachers need to be armed. Well, they should arm the teachers. You want to put that on the teachers, make the teachers responsible for these students' lives when police officers who've gone through trainings weren't even willing to go in with an active shooter on campus. So I just think it's ridiculous for this segment of the population to actually advocate that the answer is to arm teachers. That's ridiculous to me.
We got to take another quick pause, but I'm wondering what does safety look like, and considering we are in a time where mass shootings are happening more readily now than it has been over the past 10 years, past 20 years. These things are happening, Kimberly. These are things that are happening, Corinna. And if the school system is not, and I often wonder, Uvalde is a smaller town, a high Latino population, a few whites, a few blacks, but I wonder in some of our major cities, whether you're in Los Angeles or Baltimore or Miami or wherever the case may be, and that would have happened at a black high school, a black elementary school, how would we respond? And I think about that all the time.
Well,
you
the
know what I'm
only
saying?
way we're going to see safety, Faraji, is for us to change the legislators. And I say this all the time, and I sound like a broken record, but we have to start getting involved in our community, right? At this point, I don't want to keep pleading and pushing with people who clearly do not want to change anything. So from my viewpoint, I'm like, let me get you the hell out of the way and put people in who I can push, who will put in appropriate gun laws and legislation so that our children can feel safe. At this point, that is the only way. And they're not going to feel threatened or moved to do anything if we don't show up at the ballot box where they feel that their jobs are threatened. We can cry, we can protest, we can hold our signs, and they're going to be like, you know what? And in a minute, they're going to calm down and they're going to move on, and we can just go back to business. We don't have to keep dealing with this. We need to start making them feel threatened and let them know that you can be moved. And that's what we need to start doing to feel safe, because this has gotten out of hand. We're doing more active shooter drills than we are fire drills, okay? Or just general hurricane drills, tornado drills. My little cousin is a survivor of the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. He was in 9th grade at the time, you know? That rattled me working for Broward schools. I've been in Stoneman Douglas for meetings and just visiting different high schools. I always had in the back of my mind, because of the vulnerability of campus, what happens when someone walks in here? And what would the response actually look like? So yeah, and Kimberly, I'm with you. You know, that arming of teachers, unless they want more students dead, because you know, all it takes is for someone to be upset, they're gonna go in there and get that gun, or a kid could get access. You know, what the hell are they thinking, rather than just regulating the problem? And the fact that you can easily buy a gun more so than buy a beer or some alcohol, that's a problem.
Oh, and they said even in the state of Texas, one of the crew members said that you need a fishing license, but you don't need a license to own a gun. You don't go through it. That's crazy.
But you need a license to harbor. You need a license to open a business for so many other things, but not for a gun.
For so many other things. So many other things.
Is what they're saying.
Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, more conversation. Folks, stay with us. Continue to post your comments, and we'll share a couple of comments around this issue as well. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. We have been talking about the latest report coming from the Department of Justice about that Uvalde massacre that happened back on May 24th, 2022 in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 adults were killed as a result of a mass shooter. And this report focused on the botched response, the late response, the response that lacked the urgency, that lacked the communication, and essentially the response that led to so many babies being killed at one time. And so when we have been talking about this, as this has opened the conversation to everything from gun access to better policing to the culture of living in a place and a time of mass shootings. I've been checking in with my sister Kimberly Morrow, who is a principal educator. She's a speaker as well, and also checking in with Corinna Denise, who is a college admissions advisor and political strategist. Kimberly, I saw what one of our culture crew members, Ming Lee Natasha Surge, had posted, talking about making sure that we make sure that we keep our children safe. Ming posted, when we were in school, we worried about a fight at 3 o'clock. Nowadays, these kids are being sent to school with bulletproof backpacks and cell phones, and parents worried that their child won't come home. Do you feel like is that, because I still don't see that being the culture among Black students. I don't know if we're having these conversations. Not to say that what Ming Lee is saying is not correct, because I do believe that is the case, but it just doesn't feel like that sense of urgency to have these conversations and to prepare our Black children for a possible mass shooting is actually there. What do you agree or disagree on that?
Okay, so sort of, yes, kind of. When I worked at predominantly Black schools, I remember one of my students said to me when I had mentioned it, I was, it was concerning, and he said, Miss Morrow, you know Black students don't do that. So it depends.
Who said that? Who said it? Who said that, Kimberly? Was that a student or who?
My Black student, because we were talking about safety and everything, and about mass shooting on campuses. And my Black student said, Miss Morrow, you know Black students don't do that. We don't do that. And so there is still within the culture that unless you are attending a school that is diverse now, prior to 2020, the school where I was a principal was a predominantly white school. And so the Black students who attended that school, of course, they thought about it because that's typically where those things happen. But when I taught at schools where the students were predominantly Black, that wasn't necessarily the concern, because in their minds, Black students don't do that. We're not mass shooters. So to your question, Faraji, it really depends on what type of school setting the Black students are attending.
And so that's based upon the principal, that's based on the school community, that's based on parents getting involved, Corinna, making this a priority for their schools, because I feel like we're kind of moving slow, right? But and it's interesting that we don't hear about as many mass shootings in our neighborhoods, especially where we know gun violence is real. So it's a blessing that it's not happening in such a large rate, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't prepare for it.
Oh, no, of course not. And I think, too, it really just depends on, where you're located. And look at these different school shootings, right? Like I mentioned, Stoneman Douglas. Now, that was of a student who did attend Douglas, who ended up, unfortunately, murdering all these students and some faculty. But then you had the shooter for Uvalde. I don't even think he attended the school, and he was much older than an elementary school student, right? So we can't necessarily just base it on the demographics of the school. I think what we need to magnify is that it's easy to obtain a gun. And for whatever reason, and I know we like to bring up, some folks were mentioning it in the chat, mental health, but here's my pushback with that. Yeah, mental health, but we have to recognize and accept the reality that there are some with the willful intent to harm.
Absolutely.
That, we might not necessarily know, but that is a reality, unfortunately. Not just crazy and I'm just got access of a gun and I'm just going to go out and shoot some people. Yeah. Some people have willful intent for whatever the reason may be. So I think, we do need to have these conversations more. I know I can speak to my community here in South Florida, given the experience we had with Stoneman Douglas. There's, of course, a heightened sense. Unfortunately, last year, especially at the beginning of the school year, I'm watching the local news and you have this high school, students were evacuated. There was like a gun scare or something happening on campus. It was just happening all too often. And I think there are things happening that we might not necessarily always know about because it's just coming on the local news. And, fortunately, it didn't end up in tragedy. So these things are happening. And I think it's a matter of, having these conversations with family, like what does safety look like? But again, I'm going to take it back to the parents. The parents and the students have to be the motivating factor to put the pressure on those who are in these powerful positions to change things. We can't just sit back and expect like, oh, well, this happened, you're going to implement some sort of safety. You got to kind of stay on them. Like, what's happening? What's the safety measures? When are you going to do the thing? Otherwise, we're not going to see any forward movement or anything change. And something else that just comes to mind, just tying this up with Uvalde, I just want to mention something in perspective. Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky gets murdered by police March 2020. September 2020, Daniel Cameron gives us that awful verdict or whatever you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. It took approximately 3 years, but until Freedom and other folks on the ground organized and defeated his ass in November 2023. I say all that to say I really hope the parents in Uvalde continue to organize. I hope we continue to organize in our communities. That is an exemplar that change is possible if we decide collectively that we want to move and make the change happen.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000%. Real Brooklyn checked in and said, Corinna Denise agreed. No gun law other than 100% banning guns in this country will prevent someone who has intent to kill by using a gun. We know that all too well in our community, that there are a lot of people who have the intention to kill to do some real harm. They're not suffering from mental health. They're not suffering from, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on within me. No, they want to do some real harm. And I know that some, like your student mentioned, like you mentioned, Kimberly, your students say, we don't do that. We don't do that, maybe not on a high school or maybe on the elementary school level, but we talked about what happened at Morgan State University a couple of months ago, where a shooter went on campus during their homecoming celebration and just started shooting 5 people. So and that's not the first time that a Black college campus has been afflicted with violence. So we're seeing these things happen, but we're just not necessarily preparing for it. And I don't think that we should be in a space to say, oh, that doesn't happen to us. Let me tell y'all something. The last time I checked, we live in America. The last time I checked, Corinna, Black folks ain't well in America. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we just ain't well.
We can't walk around like we're invincible and think that can't be me on the 5 o'clock evening news. Because guess what? The ordinary people like you and I, Faraji, who woke up and went about their day, they weren't expecting that to happen to them. And I never take it for granted when I leave my doorstep. We can't.
Never.
It's happening.
It can happen. It can happen. It can definitely happen. So again, I stand with you on that, Corinna. I hope the parents continue to organize and advocate. And I really hope that police departments across this country see what happened in Uvalde and learn some important, hard lessons. And I hope those 380 personnel get fired.
Oh, hell yeah. All of them. Everyone who was on the street, they need to all.
You don't deserve that. Don't tell me about nothing else. Talking about you that guy, or it was too much. Your ass needs to get fired. That's what it is.
We can hit that pension too, where it hurts.
Right. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talk about Snoop Dogg that's got the internet talking. Snoop Dogg said that during a recent interview that he was offered $100 million to show his manhood on OnlyFans. And guess what? He declined. He said, I got a Black wife. My question is, do you agree or disagree with his decision? Stay with me. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let's go back to a segment that we always appreciate, where we're talking about things that have gone viral. So let's give you another installment of Trends Post and Doing the Most. Hip-hop icon and rapper, entrepreneur, father, coach, businessman, Mr. Snoop Doggy Dogg is the talk of the internet, as he talked about the businesses that comes across his table. I'm gonna let him share with you what one business proposal that came across and how he handled it. Take a listen to this conversation that he had just a few days ago. We have the conversation. Let's put we got the video up. All right. Let's do this. I want to share with you first, because at least you could just pull it up. Just look on the site on the link that we sent you. But this is a conversation that Snoop Dogg had, right? And I didn't want to talk about this at first, but then I was like, you know what? It's called The Culture, so we got to talk about these things, right? So Snoop Dogg, of course, we all know, big guy in terms of hip hop, but he has a lot of business interests. If you really haven't taken a look at what Snoop Dogg has been involved in, he's been involved in everything from liquor to potato chips to shoes. He's done things with Martha Stewart, all types of stuff. But he said that he was approached by OnlyFans with a crazy offer of $100 million to show off the family jewels. But he said he couldn't do it. Corinna, the man, turned down $100 million because he said that he has a black wife and she would not approve. What do you make of that? Do you agree or disagree with his decision?
I agree with his decision.
You agree with his decision?
First of all, he's a parent. He's a parent, so he has to set a good role model. And I know a lot of people in the chat are probably like, but it's the money, it's the money. He should have taken that money. You know, there are certain things that are more important than money, and that's values. And so Snoop Dogg said, I value my wife above everything. So I'm going to say no. And I think that was a very wise decision. He set an example for his son.
He set an example. And I got another question, but I'm gonna follow it. I'm gonna ask Corinna first.
He did the right thing. And I mean, he has some integrity. I mean, damn, there are some things more important than money. I can't even believe we're talking about this. Like, what the entire hell? Like, really? OnlyFans? We got, go ahead, ask.
Corinna, come on. This is the culture. People act like stuff don't happen in the culture. Y'all are phony. Y'all are phony, man. Because y'all know damn well when Cat Williams had his interview, I would have looked crazy if I came on here and not said nothing about them damn Cat Williams. Y'all would have been like, damn, he ain't even mentioned Cat Williams, and this is supposed to be the culture.
Well,
One of the biggest moments of 2024, right? And then I always get this, Corinna, I am so ashamed in your view. I just.
What did I do to breed shame? Because I said, why is this a topic?
Why is it a topic? Because this is what people are talking about. This is trending right now. It's called trends post and doing the most. So this is trending right now. Okay. And no, seriously. Here's why I do bring up certain topics like this. Real talk. Because I think that it is an opportunity for us to have some different conversations about morality, about values. I think that's what it is, right? Like a lot of people would laugh and joke and be like $100 million, but like think about this. Here's a guy that has been offered even at Snoop Dogg's level, his notoriety and fame, $100 million is not a drop in the bucket by any means of the imagination. So you got to ask yourself, in a time where people are willingly able to put themselves out there for nothing on social media, right? People do wild stuff on social media. They video wild situations on social media. And we also know that we're also living in a time culturally where money is so powerful that it will make you go from a believer to a hypocrite in a matter of seconds.
But for us, what if this was an ordinary man, right? Let's just say maybe it wasn't Snoop Dogg. What if it was just like everyday person and they were offered this money? What do you think the conversation would be then?
Here's the thing. Say it again.
Just go ahead and say this to change your life. Like, what would the conversation be then, right? If it wasn't Snoop, because maybe Snoop too, Kimberly, since he brought in his wife out of respect for his wife, makes me wonder. Hey, if he wasn't married, is he saying, I had to go on ahead and share the jewels and collect my 100 million? So is it just out of respect for his wife? I'm hoping that there's also some integrity there. But, is he suggesting that maybe if his lovely wife wasn't in the picture, he might just...
but seriously, how many of us would have thought about that? How many of us would, and I'm not saying that none of us would, but I'm just making a point that when you are faced with a major decision, a moral decision like that, right? Like $100 million, like all you got to do is show the family jewels. And I'm going to ask the crew, would y'all even show you, and I'm asking all the men,
right?
Would you do it? Would you do it? Now, this is the question I would ask the ladies. Would you let your husband do it?
Hell no. But then I need some more information. Like, where is this going to be shown? Am I only showing it to OnlyFans? It's going to be on the internet forever.
Hold on.
OnlyFans, Corinna.
Right. Corinna's like, wait a minute. Hold on. So where will your inches be seen? What's the reach? What's the metric of your inches? You put it on OnlyFans, but will it be on other platforms? How does this work? Corinna, it's OnlyFans.
I think this is important information. And then, am I gonna get a deposit? Do I have to show it first before you give me my money?
We're about to end this damn broadcast right now.
That's strategy. That's why I wanted to be a part of the conversation, because I was like, people have some different perspectives here. I want to hear what people have to say. For some people, it will be a hard no if they're a parent, if they're in a relationship. For some people, if they're a parent or in a relationship, they might think twice because maybe they need the money. But I really want to hear what people have to say.
Hey, look, let me tell you, look, I can tell you now, Lana said, no, she's not doing it. She ain't selling her soul. I don't care if it's $100 billion. She said, I would rather keep working and save my show for my husband. Okay, that's for you for say, but would you let your husband do it? Now, look, y'all got to understand these type of things. And of course, this is Snoop Dogg. So I'm going to go back to your thing, your question, because it don't have to be $100 million. It could be $1 million, right? But how much would a person have to pay in order for you to do something like that? Because some people would say, well, hell, it's $100 million. I give my wife a couple million, put the inches on the table, and she'll be quiet.
Nah. Well, I know this
And
body.
some people will say nothing.
Okay.
No amount of money.
So, all right,
No.
Sean Bryan said, hello, no, hell no, laughing my ass off. Lori Park said, hell no. Lori, Tiana said, OnlyFans is more than just adult. Come on, Tiana, come on, yo. I like Tiana. Tiana talking about OnlyFans is more than just adult content. I mean, I get all of that.
And then what if they find out it's you? Then you're gonna end up like, what's up? Was it the chancellor or something we were talking about the other day, Faraji, at the university, who's been doing the porn with his wife for umpteen years?
Oh yes, he lost his job because of that. The chancellor. Yeah, he lost his job. He lost his job. And no, you know what? There's no woman in the chat that has said, yes, my husband can do that.
I mean, if they're going to share, if they want Snoop, let's be honest here, if they want Snoop to share his jewels, they're not going to just post it without revealing who the jewels belong to, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that comes with that. I mean, you got to read that fine print. I know that not all money is good money, y'all.
Real Brooklyn said that many zeros will eliminate the taboo of any indecent proposal.
Listen, by the time they tax the 100 million, you're not even going to get that. It's not tax.
Well, I mean, you may not get it, but I mean, even if they give you a deposit of say 20 million.
That's crazy. A deposit.
No, I'm serious. Like, look. I'm being dead ass serious right now. There are so many people that were willing to do whatever they need to do for a little cash. That's the culture and time we're living in right now. Like people were willing, and people do more for less. Right? We see on Instagram, like when I go on Instagram, it sometimes looks like a magazine. I mean, there are so many sisters and there's so many brothers who will disrobe or who will do some wild stuff for less. I mean, this is a culture that we love. We love this.
Oh, this is a great time for me to use my Dr. Martin Luther King quote.
Wait a minute, hold up, yo, hold up.
Go ahead, Kimberly.
I've been wanting to use it this last Friday, Faraji.
Wait a minute, hold up. How are you bringing Dr. King into OnlyFans? Please help me to understand. I'm gonna just sit back. I'm gonna listen to this.
I'm gonna see it's Friday. It's Friday. I'm gonna give it to you.
Go ahead.
He said in a speech that he was giving about Vietnam, and he said we need to get away from being a thing-centered culture to being people-centered. Because the reason why people will do anything for money is so they can do what? Buy things, right? But we're not people-centered anymore. So I was finally able to use that quote.
That's a great point. Okay. Only in the culture will y'all hear Dr. King and OnlyFans in the same sentence. Only on the culture. So, and when he said, and I just want to be, wait a time. I want to be clear. When he said things centered, he's not talking about that thing.
No, he's talking, no, not that thing. Things. We're into material things. We're such a culture that's into material things.
There it is. Absolutely. Stephanie Humphrey Channel, you post a question to me. Everybody's asking me would I do it. Of course I would not do it.
Glad we cleared that up, right? Okay.
It has to be 125 million.
Now, billion.
Right now. No, I would not do it at all. No, I wouldn't do it. It was just too much. First and foremost, it's the internet. That thing could, pardon the expression, but that thing could go all over the place.
It will be.
I just don't want to see.
School, Faraji, your son to come home from school and say,
he'd be like, "Hey, Dad, can we talk?"
I'm telling you, that would be the embarrassment.
I would not. I would. That's embarrassing. I wouldn't do it, and I appreciate it. But the fact that Snoop said, "I have a black wife," you know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, and I mean, he said like he understands. I think he has grown and has matured to understand the power of legacy. Like you mentioned earlier, Kim, that, you got children, you got legacy. Yeah, he did some wild stuff over the years, right? And his wife has stood by him, right? But now I think he's at a much mature place in his life, especially in his marriage. And I can only imagine what she has had to go through to be the wife of Snoop Dogg, right? To keeping that household straight. He's on the road. He got groupies. He got all this stuff going on. He's been in all types of crazy, wild videos, but he does have some sense, right? That enough to be like, nah, man, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
He knows with that black wife, it wouldn't pan out too well for him. So yes,
I think he said he has a black wife, right?
Right. He double checked it and said a black, right. Cindy D said, "Oh my, she said, oh my, Faraji, stop." What do you mean stop? I'm serious. 150 million. Stephanie Humphrey, you say, well, you're right, brother Faraji. Folks almost naked dressing already. Yes, you're right. People do this stuff all the time. And the unfortunate part about it, as we wrap up today, the unfortunate part about this is that it kind of continues this whole culture. Like we really, and I don't know how we're going to have this conversation or when we should have it, but there is this thing that we want to expose ourselves. Like I understand body positivity. I understand being your authentic self. But the stuff that we're seeing on social media, even with the OnlyFans site, it's like, people act like that stuff don't come back to haunt them, Corinna. Like somebody is going to find that. We're finding more and more cases of both black and white people, more and more cases of people's past, people's fetishes, people's vices coming to the forefront. And it is ruining people's lives. And yes,
everyone's living in the moment. No one's thinking about the long-term consequences, unfortunately, with social media. They're living in the moment, they're having fun, and then years later, that thing just circles back and kicks them in the ass. And they're like, oh yeah, I did put that out. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Smooth approach. You said I wouldn't jeopardize my day job. Well, you wouldn't have to jeopardize. You got the money, Smooth approach. We talking about, bro.
You can open your own business. It's time to go. It's time to go.
Hey, Coretta. What happens though if you expose yourself and then they be like, "That's all you got"?
Well, look, like I said, I know this is priceless, baby. Okay, no price, it's priceless. I don't know about anybody else, but yeah, so I don't know if it's worth it. All that may come with that. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, look, man. Look, at the end of the day, you got to ask, what is your price? What is the line? What line do you draw?
What is your price, Faraji? All right.
No, I'm serious. You gotta. I think. No, I'm serious. This is the internal conversation you have with yourself. If somebody offers you, look, man, people do a lot more for $100,000. So I'm not tripping off. But I'm just saying, like, can people buy you? Can they really buy you? And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like we see this in the culture, Corinna, that with male and female relationships, like women in particular, come into connections and relationships looking to be quote unquote wined and dined. And I think in some cases looking to be bought. It's like, put up enough money, you can have me.
Faraji, you starting a whole nother.
I did start something, didn't I?
You started something else. I think we should talk about that one of these days. That would be interesting to unpack.
We should. We got some relationship folks that we could bring in on that. But people, we want to be bought. And I think men do too. We want to, some of these men, some of these brothers, they be like, oh, I'm bringing the D.
Oh, no. I can only imagine what the chat looks like. Oh my God. Faraji is on one today, y'all.
Hey, yo! Oh, man. All right, so look at we just completely knocked Kimberly off. So at this point, she just had to just leave. Poor Kimberly Morrow. Poor Kimberly Morrow. All right, look, I got to go, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. Corinna, my sister, how can people get in touch with you?
Hey guys, you can follow me at Ren_Ren84 on Instagram. Also check out the scholarship plug. Just Google us. You'll see all of our social media platforms. Follow us. to help you stay informed on how to help you get your college paid for. So, yeah.
I can't believe some of these people are saying this. Clutching State. Faraji Muhammad has obviously never been to a nude beach in California. They do exist, and it's not even a secret. Google Black Beach. How has it got that name? I have no idea. Black's Beach. No, I haven't been to, a nude beach in California.
You open Pandora's box, Faraji. That's on you now.
All right, let me go. I gotta go. My sister Kimberly, stop it, Kimberly, stop it. Kimberly Morrow, thank you for checking in. I know she dropped off, but we're gonna thank her anyway because she brought so much insight to these conversations. So I appreciate you, Corinna. Thank you for being so good for the culture. And Corinna, I better not hear about you being on OnlyFans. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, never.
Because teaching can, you know what I'm saying, being a teacher is...
Oh no, I would
Have a good one.
Before I would go to OnlyFans. You can believe that. Thank you for having me, Faraji.
You're welcome. Thank you for being so good for the culture. Folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of y'all. Make sure y'all stick around. Up next is Roland Martin, 6 p.m. Eastern time. As always, make sure y'all support us at Black Star Network. If you enjoyed the conversations, make sure you support us at blackstarnetwork.com. Go to our website, download the app for free. Follow us on social media and drop something in the bucket. We would love to have your support as an investor and stakeholder. Big shout out to Mr. Carl Reed, who is another donation, gave us another donation. There we go. Carl, thank you so much for giving us a donation earlier in the show. We truly, truly appreciate you. And welcome to the Black Star Network family. Folks, that's going to do it for me. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk on Monday. And go Ravens. Go Ravens. And any of your favorite teams of the weekend. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be watching a little football this weekend. So there it is right there. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all, crew. Have a great afternoon, wonderful evening. Talk soon for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Peace.